Have Reform UK peaked already?
At school, categorically on the record, you did not racially abuse fellow pupils.
I would never ever do it in a hurtful or insulting way.
After rising consistently in the polls in 2025, it seems that Reform's having a difficult start to the year, a bit like Nicolas Maduro.
It's a long walk to face the wrath of American justice for Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia.
Now, I'm not naive enough to think that Nigel and Reform are going anywhere anytime soon.
Thank you, all the social media platforms. I've just gone through 7 million followers, which means we leave other politicians in this country completely miles behind us.
But I do think there's a few key factors at play at the moment that mean that maybe they've already peaked and that they'll have a much rougher year in 2026 than they did last year. So buckle up, sit back, get a plate of your finest gammon, and let's have a look at why I think that Reform UK have already peaked. They say there's no such thing as bad publicity, and lately Reform UK have had quite a lot of it.
Mr Farage's campaign has been accused of falsely reporting his election expenses during his successful bid to become an MP in Essex last year.
At school, categorically on the record, you did not racially abuse fellow pupils.
I would never ever do it in a hurtful or insulting way.
That's not quite the same as not doing it.
Reform and Nigel have had a number of scandals that have popped up over the last couple of months. Now, usually this isn't so much of a problem because it usually just flies away like water off a duck's back, right?
Boring. Boring. Boring.
But unlike in the past, it does seem that shit's finally starting to stick to the wall for these guys. From embarrassing press conferences with former Tory MPs.
Nadeem Zahawi was appointed Chancellor. You said, I thought Zahawi had principles, but tonight we learned all he's interested in is climbing that greasy pole. Are you now greasing that pole for your new
Well,
colleague?
if you see...
To the promotion of notorious paedophile Ian Watkins over Cameo.
This message is to pay tribute to Ian Watkins, a good man, a really good guy who was very much in contact with me, who loved his children and will be sorely, sorely missed by them.
Nigel's hit a number of personal blunders since a couple of months ago when it came out that he was pretty racist in school.
Did you racially abuse fellow pupils when you were at school?
No, this is 49 years ago, by the way. 49 years ago. Have I ever tried to take it out on any individual on the basis of where they're from? No.
He was outed by a number of former students and teachers that basically said he was being a racist and had views that Hitler was a pretty cool guy.
What do you remember about how you and Nigel Farage interacted?
Knowing that I was Jewish, saying Hitler was right and gas him.
Now, I was kind of surprised that this became such a big news story because a lot of this stuff was known for years. These people had already came out before now. But for some reason it blew up in December and he had a little trouble trying to explain that shit away.
Mr Farage, 20 people have accused you of making racist comments at school.
Oh dear, I think we've gone quite a long way towards answering all this, don't you?
You've mentioned 3 people with political affiliations. What about the other 17? Why should people believe you over
Well, if you look at what they said, none of them say I directly attacked them or abused them. What they do say very clearly is they had different political views to me.
Now, to be fair to Nigel, I think if people dug out my secondary school comments and showed it to everyone in the world, I would also be in trouble for very similar things, I think. But it's not just his time in the Hitler Jugend that's made people a little sceptical of the guy. More bad news came for Nigel in December when it was revealed that his campaign overspent on his constituency election.
Richard Everett, a former Reform UK councillor, is said to have submitted documents to the Metropolitan Police showing the party spent more than the £20,000 limit. Reform strongly denied breaking the law.
The police did launch an investigation into this, but basically concluded that because so much time had passed between now and then, there was nothing that they could really do about it. His acceptance of failed former Tory MPs like Nadeem Zahawi and Robert Jenrick hasn't really been much of a popular one with people. Not even his own party base, like a lot of people were pretty disappointed about this one. And I'm not f***ing surprised.
You were immigration minister. I mean, you were literally in the position where you could have done something about immigration. Yes, you let a lot of people in.
No, wrong. Wrong, Susanna.
And set up asylum hotels.
A few years ago, you tweeted, I'm not British born, Mr. Nigel Farage. I am as British as you are. Your comments are offensive and racist. I would be frightened to live in a country run by you. Why the change of heart?
After criticising these Tory MPs for the past decade, Nigel's decided he's going to invite them into his party. which is strange given that one of the common criticisms was that it was becoming like an escape ground for failed Tory MPs. I don't know how with a straight face you can invite Robert Jenrick to your party of anti-immigration, considering he was the immigration minister for like 2 years.
You were immigration minister. I mean, you were literally in the position where you could have done something about immigration. Yes, you let a lot of people in.
Zaharie as well hasn't been very popular, given he was a large proponent of the COVID vaccine. And since a lot of reform guys don't believe in vaccines and stuff like that, it's been pretty funny, but they all hate the guy because of that, right?
Mr. Zaharie, on this point about COVID vaccines, I hear the point about free speech, but the doctor previously mentioned told Reform's conference that the vaccines that you rolled out may have caused the King's cancer.
I expected more from you, right? That was a really stupid question, right? And it doesn't even deserve an answer. So try again next time.
I don't actually see what the motivation is for the decision. I just think it's a bad decision all around, which is kind of surprising because, to be fair to Nigel and Reform, they're usually pretty good at not trying to piss off the core of their voter base.
We've got semi-skim, they don't like that. Oat milk, what on earth's that when it's at home? Almond milk. All I want's proper bloody milk, not left-wing options, proper milk. What's wrong with me asking for that?
Now, Reform still polled pretty well, but that's because people dislike the other parties more so than they like Nigel Farage. I mean, if you look at all of the party comparisons of who likes which leader and what, Farage consistently comes out as bottom, which is strange because his party are like at the top, do you know what I mean? So it says a lot about the guy that even people voting for him don't actually trust him, they just hate the other parties.
While he does have the highest number of people say that they have a very favourable opinion of him, he also has the highest number of people that have a very unfavourable opinion of him too, at least among senior British politicians.
These stories by themselves may be brushed off by just saying, whatever, these things happen to Nigel and he always seems to get away with it. But I think we're kind of like getting into fatigue levels at the moment, where enough people are getting tired of it that they're starting to think, I don't actually like this guy. You heard that right, I do think that a lot of people are getting suspicious that the Brexit guy isn't as much of a positive influence on the UK as he says he is.
Pattern is emerging. A long-running poll which asks whether it was right or wrong to leave suggests that many more think it was wrong, now by 54% to 34%. And that thinking now includes nearly a fifth of leavers, prompting talk of regret.
His defense of Elon Musk and Grok AI undressing like women and children, for example, on Twitter was pretty sycophantic, and he basically just sided with Elon Musk. Even though this is like an easy win, you could have just been like, yeah, Elon should just take that down, it's pretty bad. Like, how hard is that?
Look, this feature clearly is horrible in every way, distasteful, sick. I get all of that. I know that X today have made some changes to say only paying subscribers can use the service. X will need to go further, but the thought of banning platforms, I mean, what is happening in 21st century Britain?
This brings me to his deep throating of Uncle Sam in general. Nigel Farage likes Donald Trump as much as he likes money, which is no coincidence because the two of them are quite inextricably linked.
Good friends don't always agree. Correct. And there are many, many things that Trump has done that I agree with entirely.
Now, this isn't really a secret or anything. Nigel and Reform don't exactly hide the fact that they beat their meat to Donald Trump and MAGA.
How big a political issue? Because in the UK, our border issue is becoming the #1 political issue. How big is it here?
So I got elected in 2016 because of the border and other things. And in 2020, I didn't talk about the border. You know why? Because I did such a good job, it was no longer an issue.
Nigel and Farage are so pro-Epstein associate Donald Trump that they've changed a lot of like their rallies to be more American and cringe as a result of it. The particular problem with this is that they've put all of their eggs in the basket of MAGA and restructuring the UK in the image of Donald Trump's America.
Donald Trump, Nigel Farage. Two populist leaders separated by an ocean, but now united by a similar political strategy.
When you look at what they have in common, it goes back a little bit to what MAGA, Make America Great Again, is about and where the Reform Party is going now.
But there's also a kind of style that is similar, a personality type. They're both masters at playing the attention economy.
You can see this in their stances from anti-public spending to anti-abortion and everything in between. The success and failures of these policies in the USA will directly translate to Reform UK's popularity here.
Look at this in January, Donald Trump's net approval rating, not too bad, not too great. It was at -1 point, right within the margin of error, breaking even. But look at this now. Negative 24 points. Way down. We're talking about a drop of over 20 points in the wrong direction for the President of the United States.
Put simply, the worse that clown does across the ocean in the USA, the worse it makes Nigel Farage and Reform UK look. And I actually think this is a big part of why people are starting to turn away from these guys at the moment.
President Trump has fired off more social media posts asserting his desire to take over Greenland as he prepares to meet European leaders in Switzerland. He marked the one-year anniversary of his return to the White House with a barrage of comments on Truth Social.
People in the UK don't like the idea of citizens being gunned down in the street, regardless of their skin colour, right?
Sometimes ICE is going to be too rough with somebody, or, you know, they're dealing with rough people. They're going to make a mistake. Sometimes it can happen.
No!
I mean, I know I wouldn't like to take my kid for a walk on the beach and there's just loads of like bodies of people there. And then they're like, oh dad, why is that guy on the floor there? And I'm like, he tried to enter the country. Like, doesn't really sound that bad. The US faces problems with cost of living at the moment and balkanization between the states. And a lot of people don't want to see that imported into the UK, at least more than it already has been.
President Trump is delivering a speech at the Detroit Economic Club. He says he's there to report on what he calls the strongest and fastest economic turnaround in U.S. history. This comes as many Americans are still struggling to afford basic necessities. In fact, new government data shows that consumer prices remain stubbornly high.
Trump's desire to purchase or invade Greenland at any cost is something that's also not flying right with people at the moment. People are starting to wake up to the fact that the US is a hostile entity that's wormed its way into our countries, and now it's doing all the damage it can do.
How far are you willing to go to acquire Greenland?
You'll find out.
Greenlanders have made it clear they don't want to be part of the U.S.
Well,
what gives the U.S. the right to take away that self-determination?
When I speak to them, I'm sure they'll be thrilled.
Yeah, sure, a lot of Reform UK voters won't care one way or the other. They'll still support Farage and they'll still support Donald Trump probably. But there are enough rational thinkers in the moderate of the Reform UK voter base that are starting to get a bad taste in their mouth with this whole thing.
You ever notice Joe would always cough before a speech? State of the Union, he gets... Ladies and gentlemen.
There's only so much goodwill to go towards the USA. Once the orange idiot burns through it all, there's not going to be much taste for the USA left in Europe. We don't actually need to look across the pond to find why their results are taking a hit in polls though. Reform's councils are so much of a bumbling joke that they don't actually need the FIFA Dictator Award winner to actually discredit them. Reform UK's councils have had predictably mixed results.
In May, Reform swept the board in England's local elections.
And my reply to that is...
Be briefed as it goes. Yeah.
Paul, I'm going to mute you in a minute. Let me reply. We're running out of time.
It's all right, Brian. You keep laughing your head off, mate.
In the committee meeting, Paul, I'm going to mute you so I can just speak.
From raising council taxes after promising not to embarrassing Zoom meetings, a lot of people are getting buyer's remorse from these pound shop Tories.
Reform UK's pledge of Musk-style cost-cutting is colliding with reality as households face steep council tax rises. Under the government's Fair Funding Review 2.0, local authorities are expected to raise bills by about 5% a year for the next 3 years.
They've also faced a few expulsions from local councils and even one criminal investigation. From the party that claim not to be the new Tories, they seem to be speedrunning a lot of their terrible scandals and decisions.
How many times have you been arrested, Mandy Claire? That's a lot now, isn't it?
And there she goes, always causing trouble.
After shitting on local councils and how they've got no idea about what to do, they then appoint like this guy George Finch, a pretty young councillor, which I'm not entirely against, but I just think it seems hypocritical when you're criticising one party for not knowing what they're doing, and then you appoint a guy who has literally never had a job.
His opponents say he doesn't answer questions. We tried to interview him twice.
Councillor Finch, can we just have a quick word? Just your reaction to being elected as councillor, as council leader? Anything to say to the people of Warwickshire? Councillor Finch? A 19-year-old leading the council?
I think that's ridiculous.
Why?
Too young, no experience, a big budget to deal with.
I think it's good. I think we need new people to lead, and I think it's going to be great for the country and the council.
Criticising other councils for not knowing what they're doing and then appointing a guy with zero experience. Seems strange, but then, I don't know, it seems like the requirement to run for Reform UK Council is to not know anything about anything.
Well, he's determined, no, and he's voting Reform.
You like Reform?
I voted the last 3 times.
Reform UK have also tried to steal everyone's data in the councils that they're responsible for, which you've probably not heard this story much, but it's true. They've tried to gain access to everyone's like local details so that they can use it for like cost saving or some shit like that. But I don't know, it sounds kind of shady if you ask me. I do think they probably do need to know where everyone lives so that when they eventually start their pogroms of anyone further left than Margaret Thatcher, they'll be able to come and get you.
He's not stopping anyone from getting a COVID vaccine because no one's taking it anymore. He didn't say all vaccines. He was very specific with COVID vaccines. Listen, if you don't agree with him, you don't agree with him.
People still take the COVID vaccine. People still take the COVID vaccine. If you went into government, you'd be responsible for administering it. And then you're putting on some quack at your conference who is spouting conspiracy theories about it.
But that's just me. Have Reform UK peaked? Tell me in the comments, like and subscribe. Even if you didn't like it, like and subscribe anyway, who gives a f***?